Hi everybody, Beanmeister22 here. Hey, today we're going to look at something very special. This is one of my favorite sets. This is the LEGO set 10213 Shuttle Adventure. And it is a really cool set. Do not get this confused with the smaller space shuttle. This is the big space shuttle. This is a semi-realistic looking space shuttle, and it's much better than that smaller one. And yes, it is definitely too big to go on my aircraft carrier. I had to clear the deck, but it looks like it can take off pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty good size shuttle, and like I said, definitely bigger than the smaller shuttle. It comes with 3 minifigs, your little ground base, a little cart for the guy to drive around in, and it comes with a bunch of these little lampposts, spotlights to aim at the shuttle when they're on the launch pad. The shuttle has a lot of moving parts. You have the landing gear, which go up and down. The front landing gear swivels, which is really cool. There's a lever for the front one. The rear ones, you got to kind of push down on them, and it's kind of hokey. Things like to fall off this space shuttle. This set is not really for playing with. It's more for setting on the shelf and looking at. It's a really cool set with some cool features, but the features really don't work all that well. And what you end up with something that every time you try to do something with this, you know, a piece is going to fall off or something's not going to work right. You have these big bay doors up on the top and the rockets there in the back and the jet engines. It's really cool. And it's funny that something with this many moving parts would be so flimsy and so easily fall apart. Any of these things you see me moving here, they are at any moment at risk of falling off. It's really designed that way. I don't know why, but it is. Now, the big main doors here are really kind of chintzy. You open them up, and then one of the hinges doesn't work on either side. They like to flop around. You can kind of see how the bricks don't fit together very well. There's a whole lot of kind of pushing things back and forth, and it comes with a really cool satellite, and then there's an arm to put that satellite out there when you're in space. Don't even want to open that because that little arm in there, it falls apart every time I try to use it. But these doors are they're horrible. You can see there's a bunch of little pieces, and it's just a poor design. And it leaves you with a vertical stripe-looking thing up and down the ship, and that's kind of hokey. But yeah, it's a cool set, but you do not want to play with this. Things will fall off. They won't work right. The doors come off. The bricks don't fit together well. Yeah, there's a lot of gaps on these bricks. It's like putting together a Chinese set. I hate to say it, but it is. And when I say put together a Chinese set, I mean not even one of the good ones, because most of the Chinese brick sets that I have really are not this flimsy. In fact, the components in this set were made in Denmark, Austria, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. So this doesn't even contain any Chinese parts, and it's not even as sturdy as most of the Chinese sets out there. I know it's disappointing, but it's still a cool set and worth getting. Now, the Space Shuttle also comes with its 2 solid rocket boosters and the main liquid fuel tank, and it attaches fairly well. It's one of the good solid things on here is the way that it attaches to the shuttle itself. And it adds to the reality of this thing, because it's not just a boring shuttle. You have everything you need. You have the rockets, you have the fuel tank, so you could make a good brick film with this. Like I said, this isn't much for playing. This is good for looking at or maybe making a brick film. And it's realistic for what it is. I'm very impressed with how it looks. Just, I'm not very impressed with how sturdy it is and how it feels and how it wants to fall apart on you all the time. And as you can see here, as this is sitting on the launch pad, it sits in there pretty good. It's not going to fall over. I'm impressed with that. And it looks really good. I just wish that the launch pad base would have come with a little more than just this base plate and, you know, ground crew minifig and his little cart and some spotlights. Now, if we look at the solid rocket boosters and the fuel tank, they look pretty sturdy if you look at them, but they really are not that sturdy. They attach together very well, but when you see how it's coming apart as I'm trying to separate them here, this thing wants to fall apart. I think this fuel tank and these solid rocket boosters, they want to fall apart even more than the space shuttle itself does. See, there's quite a bit of wiggle in this, then things want to come apart. This is a set that you might even want to consider gluing together. And the fuel tank itself really isn't much different. The fuel tank wants to come apart. This is something that if you drop it, you are in trouble. This thing wants to come apart when I'm just picking it up. This is something that needs to be glued, or it should have been designed a lot sturdier than it is. This thing, like I said, it wants to fall apart, and I'm not even trying to make it fall apart here. There's some loose things on it. It's just not a good design. It is a poor design. I'm sorry, Lego kind of messed up with this. The top of it is pretty solid. It's got some solid pieces to it, and you could make this solid. If you add several more pieces internally and kind of do some bracing, it would be a lot better than it is. So this is a set that's going to need quite a bit of work if you want to make this solid. But I just recommend putting this together and gluing it together. Then you won't have to worry about this or any of this. Alright, so that's it for today. We looked at the Shuttle Adventure, set number 10213. I've had this set for a long time. I paid about $99 for it. It's a really cool set. I recommend getting it if you can either just put it on your shelf and enjoy looking at it, or if you want to make a realistic looking brick film. But if you're somebody who really has to play with your Lego sets, do not buy this unless you plan on gluing it together. It is definitely that fragile and that delicate. But like I said, big thumbs up for its design and how it looks, and a big thumbs down for its design and how poorly designed it is for its flimsiness and delicateness and how it wants to fall apart every time you touch it. Hey, that's just me. Maybe you got a different opinion on it. You can leave your opinion down in the comments section. Hey, and as always, thank you for watching.
Beameister 22, the most dangerous man on YouTube.